Good evening. Good evening, John.
Hello, Nikolai.
Hi.
Hey,
Can
John,
you hear
it's
me?
Mike Martinovich.
Hi, Michael.
Hey there.
There I am.
There we go. John Vukasovich, Kakosi.
Hello. Dobro. Kako si ti?
No.
Kako ste vi? I'm sorry.
No, nisam ja vi, ja sam ti. Vi ste za mene vi.
Yeah. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good.
How's Sek?
She's getting ready.
Is she going to be?
Well, hello. Hey, Michael.
Jesse Mala Moya.
How are you?
How are you?
Becca's a Serbian speaking.
Oh, yeah, really
Part of the
Serbian speaking.
family.
Hey, Nikolai.
Hi, Seka.
Is this meeting going to be in Russian or Serbian?
Oh,
Yeah.
So you getting ready for Dodo to come down?
well, you're coming to see you first, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Except I'm going to be leaving the day she gets in.
You are, huh? Get going to Tennessee, she said.
Yeah. We're going to pass at the airport, but I'll be back. You know, she's doing a very wonderful thing for
Well,
me.
that's how she is. She's a very, very giving person. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
nice
I know
seeing
she's
you guys
looking
at
forward
church
to it.
a couple of weeks ago.
What's up?
It was nice meeting you at church.
Yeah, really nice. Yeah. Hey, Father Blaschko.
Christos Voskressen.
Nice
Voistinu.
How is everybody?
Good.
Good. Okay, are we on in a couple
Good
of minutes?
evening.
Matushka Christos Voskressen.
Воистину воскресе. Good evening.
How are you? Where's Batushka?
Батюшка is coming.
Oh, Batushka, don't hide.
Батюшка has another connection.
Oh, okay, good, very good. So let's see actually how many more minutes? 1 more minute or for everybody to join? We'll wait until everybody else gets on. Nikolai, can you hear us?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Okay, good.
People keep joining, so
Yeah, okay, that's good.
so far 14 people total.
Okay, good. So we'll wait a few more minutes or a couple of more minutes. Is Alex on?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's wait for him and so other board members, and we can start. So it's good to see everybody. I don't see everybody. I see a few faces actually. Maybe some people don't turn on their camera.
I'm sorry, but my camera doesn't work, so it's not intentional.
Okay. Well, you are very loud. That's important. So.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I'll mute myself.
No, you don't have to mute yourself. That's good. How everybody is? How was your day
Maya
today?
joining, so
We are great.
Hello. It's
Hello.
Maya.
Okay. Hristos Voskrese, Maja.
Vaistinu Vaskrese, evo mašem svima, moram da isključim
Okay.
bandwidth.
Vaistinu Voskrese.
Milice, Hristos Voskrese. Aco.
Vaistinu Vaskrese.
Čujemo.
Okay. Are we going to start, or are people still joining, or?
Nikolai, can you give the presentation right so I can get everything ready, please?
Yeah, 1 second.
Can we start with a prayer, please? Alex.
Yes, can you hear me okay? Please start with a prayer.
Okay. Let's all of us cross ourselves and start with a prayer. Hristos Voskrese iz mrtvih, smrtiju smrt popravi, suživo grobje život darova. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life. Hristos Voskrese iz mrtvih, smrtiju smrt popravi, suživo grobje život darova. O Lord Jesus Christ, bless this gathering, bless this meeting by your Holy Spirit, for thou art holy now and ever, not to the ages of ages.
Amen.
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 I would like to greet all of you and thank you very much for everything you do for our church, for all your love and generosity. It is because of your love and generosity the church has been in existence for so many years. And we are at the point when we are making a most concrete step towards our future. So we have tried in the past in various ways, but we never really had a concrete step to buy a property and to show any properties to people. Well, let's not go back too much in there. One of the things that is for sure that God has kept us going on all these years. And Milica has been our first secretary of the board meeting, and she knows and remembers our beginning more than anybody else presently. And believe it or not, we started with a few families, and when I was appointed as a parish priest, we had less than $20,000 on our account. That was the beginning when the bishop appointed me as a full-time priest, and the parish board and the community took the responsibility to keep me as a full-time priest and to pay the facilities that we were leasing at that time for our services. And our beginning was in a very modest facility called Newland Barn in Hampton Beach. And then there were some difficult times and years and summers when we were served in my house here in Mission Viejo because that place was not available. During the summertime. So not to go back too much back in the history, but believe it or not, the first year we achieved more than $100,000 on our saving account. It was a great beginning, great enthusiasm, and so on. And many things have happened and slowed us down. And number one was the war that started in our country, and our people focused on helping also the families. And we as a parish and community did so many things to help the victims of the wars and so on and so on. In the meantime, the prices went up. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You know, the prices of the real estate truly went up significantly, and they were going up they're going up in a speed way. But that's all the past. And of course, we learn many, many lessons. And currently, I can say that we do have a very capable parish council and people on the board, and I want to thank all of them, starting with the president and most especially to Maya Todorovic, and who has been taking quite a few concrete actions and pushing us in this right direction. And Alex and all of us truly are supporting these ideas. And as you all know, that we have to find a facility or place to have a roof above that in order to exist. And I would like to ask our parish council president, Alex, to whom I'm also very grateful for leading us for all these years, to do a presentation, and then we can have a discussion and we can ask questions and whatever comments you would like to make. And I would like to say that we should not fear. As God has led us so far, I'm confident that God will definitely continue to lead us if we do our part. That's the most important thing, that we do what we can. And some of you know that I administered the parish in Salt Lake City, and I repeated this story so many times. When I came there, they didn't have $2,000 on their account. In a year, they reached with their stewardship $80,000. Then I went to the diocese, and there was a church that was sold in Billings, and I asked for $20,000 to give to Salt Lake City, and with that, we bought an existing church that was about $500,000. Of course, we wish we had the same situation here, but for those refugees, that was a huge step. And I told them the same thing, just don't be afraid, do what you can. And they truly did what they can. At the end of my administration of that parish, I served them for 5 years, flying every month, Friday or Thursday, and coming back Saturday evening here, once a month, sometimes twice a month. When I left, the church was paid off, and the parish house was bought and was paid off, and they had about $200,000 on a saving account, and everything was paid off for the priest who came, who succeeded me in that parish. And it was, honestly, that God rewarded those people, the efforts of those people. And they, even today, when I talk to them, and last year I went to visit them, will never forget the words you said. If we do our part, God will do the rest, because God did a miracle with that community, that they are, absolutely stable in every possible way today. And I pray that we continue the same path. Thank you all, and God bless you. And Alex, please continue with your
course. Just doing a sound check. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, okay, very good. And can you see my screen okay? Future home?
No.
No. Just for a split second, it showed up and got hidden.
Is it okay now?
You're not sharing the screen.
No, you're not sharing.
Okay, let me try once more time. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much, Father Blaschko, and from everybody that is involved in our humble parish. It is a labor of love, a labor of dedication. And there's many people on this call, John Vukasovic and Milica, that have done so much for our parish. And everybody does what they can, and at the moment in their lives when they can. But I really think, and I share your opinion, Father Blaschko, that we are at a critical point. God is giving us the opportunity, and he's testing us if we have the faith to take the parish to the next step. So what we did with the help of Maya Todorovic, who's the financial secretary, is it was a long job of several years, mainly the last 2 years, where we got our financial reporting in order and many things were done to give us the platform and the basis of where we can consider to purchase our own semi-permanent or permanent home. And what we did here in the spirit of full transparency was to present the parishioners and all of the friends of the church really all the options that we have facing. So let's look at the current state of where we are today. The Most Holy Theotokos Church has been at the current premises for over 15 years, with a very favorable lease rate that is completely abnormal of about 62 cents a square foot. And those of you that know the market will know and acknowledge that this is less than 50% of the market rate. Our landlord has been a good friend and supported us all these years, but at this time, he is compelled to relinquish our current space to our neighbor, who has taken over all of our spaces in the park. Most of you who have been coming to our church have seen little by little all the units beside us disappearing and turning into the Glidewell enterprise, who have been excellent neighbors to us, allowing to have festivals and all that. But at the end, they have needs, our landlord has needs, and we really need to exit our current premises on the 1st of November of this year. So that means if you will see on the timeline later on that our new premises must be secured without question in the next 30 to 60 days to ensure that we continue regular operations and we're not forced in a place where we have to put our iconostasis in storage in all of these places. So what are the options for the next steps? We certainly can continue to lease our premises, but the market rate and the market rent would be about $1.60 per square foot, plus 30 cents for some common expenses, roughly about $1.90. So if we rent the same premises that we have today, will be a rent of $2,600 per month, which would be an additional $5,000 per month of cost today. The other option is, of course, to purchase a property. And if we look at the market prices in our target areas, which are generally about 10 miles within our current location, the going price today, as Father Blaschko said, has appreciated tremendously. It is roughly about $330 per square foot. So to purchase a similar property with the available down payment that we have, it leads to a carrying cost of about $5,882 per month. And we will get into more details of the numbers. So I hope that you both agree, all of you agree, that after the analysis of the board, our conclusion is it is really the right time to buy a property. So what does the purchase option look like? The church building fund has approximately of disposable cash of around $500,000 as a down payment. We have purchased an investment property about just under a year ago with some help and direction from different people and a lot of know-how from Maya, who is experienced in this area. We purchased a townhouse, which has appreciated and is a big part of our down payment. The church financials, which we have been improving over the last year and a half, 2 years, can get a financing of about 1.5 million mortgage. And that means that we can roughly purchase a property of about $2 million. Now, we have done an analysis, and Maya has really led this, and we vetted this out. And here is a brief synopsis of the analysis. On the left side, you have simulated purchase prices. If we were to purchase a property based on the square foot rate of about $320 per square foot, thinking that we can maybe negotiate a better price, we would need to purchase a property of about $1.3 million based on the $320 per square foot price. 400 square feet and the 500,000 we have is a 43% down payment. There are some costs, closing costs, which would mean that the cash to close needed is about 519,000, which we could currently afford. This means that we would need a loan amount of about 780,000 and some remodeling costs of 60,000, which we would have in cash. If we were to purchase a 6,000 square foot property, and I'll get back to why this is an option, the purchase price would be just around 2 million. The square foot would be about the same. The down payment would be 25%, which is the minimum for a commercial property. The down payment would be the same. The origination cost would be higher, but roughly at closing, we would need 528,000. Again, these are the resources that the church has today. So the loan amount would be 1.4 million, and we expect the leasehold to be similar. If you look on the right side, the monthly costs with mortgage payment is roughly about 5,882 with all the property tax, association fees, insurance, and $9,988 for the larger property. The larger property would have an income of about $2,000 per month, $3,380 per month at 2,000 square feet. And the renters would pay some common areas, which would give us a monthly cost of about 6,000. So very similar. So when you look at the purchase options we've created 3 scenarios, and I will explain these scenarios. The first scenario is having a space enough for our own needs with no rental income, the same 500K down payment, estimated monthly costs of 5,882. The next option would be something around $2 million, 6,000 square feet with 2,000 square foot rentable area, which would give us 3,380 a month per income. Same down payment, estimated monthly cost would be around 6,000 per month. There is another option that we were exploring, which is a bit of an ambitious option, currently out of our budget, which would entail a building of about 10,000 square foot size, which would give us a 6,000 square foot area to rent, 8,450 income roughly. We would need an 800,000 down payment, so 300,000 more than what we have, and an estimated mortgage payment after rental income of 3,292. So what we're trying to show here is when we're looking at the different scenarios, that actually taking more risk and taking a bigger property would give us a higher cash flow per month, similar to the rent that we pay today of 2,550 per month. The first option, of course, the benefit is that it's easy to finance. We have the down payment. The problem is that it's hard to find a building of that size. And it also makes us dependent only on our own income. It is small and usually shared parking lot and other amenities. The middle option can be financed. We can qualify for such a finance. These properties are in high demand and difficult to close. The last option is the cheapest cost to carry, but we don't have enough down payment and we don't have regular financing option, which will require the need for guarantors or other people to step in. And even our landlord is willing to help us there in a way, but still we are relying on other people for this option. All of these assumptions are an estimated rental income of $1.69 per square foot, which is the market rate, and a 3.89% mortgage rate. So those are kind of the options that the board has been looking at. We have gone through many different properties, but we have provided these 5 options to give you an idea of what is available. And all the links are here in this presentation file. The first option is a lower cost opportunity in the Tustin area of about 4,000 square feet. Purchase price is about 1.3 million. The option under the second scenario, there's 2 of them that we found. One is in Laguna Woods. It's a commercial building. It has about 6,000 square feet, 2,000 rentable. And another option in that same section is a very special and unique property that's available. That's 9,000 square feet, but has a very small purchase price because it's very hard to sell. It has two buildings. One is a church, which Father Blaschko has served, that serves the Muslim community today. And the second property on the same location is a building that has the possibility to be rented. And this could be a very interesting option for us. Again, difficult to resell if we want to make this a semi-permanent option. To the right side is the spectrum of properties that are much larger, that have a much higher earning potential. We have found two buildings there. Both are in Santa Ana. One is a engineering firm that has it. You can see there's a set of stairs going up. The upstairs we could rent completely, plus a portion of the downstairs. And the one below it is a medical building in Santa Ana that is all in one level and has a shared parking and can also be subdivided and rented. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of the ideas the board has had with consultation with our landlord and some other experts in the field. If you look at the timelines, and we'll come back to these slides, I don't want you to feel you can't comment. We want your comments. The timeline would be that at today's meeting, we really discuss any of your questions and send a recording and a survey to all of the parishioners and all of the people on this call to really give us the blessing of the property targets and what your preference is in terms of location and also risk appetite of where we should go. We would need to establish an escrow account where there would be a special fund that anybody who would donate more than $5,000 would have the option to have those funds returned to them if any property would not close. By June 15, we would provide some conditional offers and hopefully secure a property to purchase. And also 30 days later, we would be able to secure a mortgage and go into escrow. And at that moment, it would be a go, no go decision. At that point, the escrow would be sufficient and we would either return the funds to whoever wishes their funds back or not. August 15 would be a rough closing date, and we need to be aggressive on the closing date simply because of the situation in the market. And September 15, we would start the preparation to move in and conduct any leasehold improvements on the property that we would purchase. So that's a rough timeline. These are some ideas in order to make sure that we are operational by November 1st. Certainly, many of the factors here would consider what are the existing lease agreements? Is the property occupied? Certainly, we would prefer for it to be partially occupied so we would generate an income right away. But all of those considered aspects would be to be taken. The call to action at the end of this meeting is to really choose what we want, what you, the parishioners, want, and build consensus between you and empower the board to act quickly to purchase the preferred option. The parishioners would review the recording and fill in a survey by the 2nd of June, so next week, right after Memorial Day, so that we can close this aspect and start the hard work to secure a property. Once we find the property, the board would identify the acceptable options because some of the options I've shown you would likely not be available in 2 weeks due to the heat of the market, and then start driving the escrow fund to see how we can maximize our down payment to reduce our month-to-month mortgage risk. So really, it's about all of you getting involved. And if any of you have expertise in any of these fields, such as mortgage finance or anything like that, we would ask your help, and certainly your help would be welcome. At the end, it is your future and our children's future as time goes on. It's not only about the religious aspects, but as you all recognize through the many years, at least the years I've been here, our church has been a gathering place, a shelter, a beacon of light in these tough times, and helping many different people in our community, not only the Serbian community. I'm very proud what has been built so far, that all are welcome. Anybody who is Orthodox, from Russian, Ukrainian, Bulgarian community, Romanian community, are all welcome, and they're all part of our Slavic brothers and even non-Slavic people who come to worship and have a good sense of community. So the work that we're doing, I'm sure you will all acknowledge, is very important. And this is what's required to make sure that that work continues. So I can go back to any slide that you wish. We are open for questions. Before we open for questions, I would like to see if any of the other board members have additional comments or Father Blaszko.
Thank you, Alex, very much. I would like to say that people are sending emails and messages to me, and they're all encouraged. And the feeling of the people who have talked to me and the people I have visited in person, everybody is really, their preference is to buy a facility. And everybody says it's been too long since we have been leasing, and absolutely, we are all in favor of buying our permanent facility. So may God bless it be semi-permanent, because some people say we would like to have a traditional built church and so on and so on. Yes, of course, but we need a roof above our head at the moment. And as of today, for the last 10 days, I deposited $73,000 on the building account, which is a good sign. And we have about $65,000 pledged towards this goal. So I believe with God's help, with the help of all people, we can reach another $500,000. With the things that we received and that are pledged, it would be great to have another $500,000. So with the apartment that we have, if we have to sell it, then we will have $1 million for down payment. But that $500,000 has to be reached as soon as possible. And that's what I'm telling people when I talk to them. And as I said, the energy is there. And I don't know if my friend Marty is on the Zoom call, and he's been my right hand in helping me with this fundraiser so far. And I thank you very much. He lives in Indian Wells, and I've been his father's priest also for many, many years. And his father passed away, unfortunately, but it is Marty who is continuing his legacy and being a part of our church, through his love and generosity and generous donations. And he's one of the people who pledged $50,000. Thank you, Marty. So, and with God's help, as I said, and people like that, and we should achieve our goal to have about $500,000 on our building account. In addition to
Let's hope in God's ears. So just about the options. So I'm back here on the purchase options. It would be good to get some questions and some feedback from the people on the call. What is the feeling here? I think we all agree we should purchase our own property, but should we take on more risk and get a bigger property, which would mean that we would have to have this additional fundraising and have some guarantees on the mortgage? Should we focus on something around 6,000 square feet? Or should we get something that is only for our own needs?
A question. So where in this picture is the apartment that we have? Are we selling it? Do we have to sell it to get the larger property or not?
In the simulation that we have here, we would need to sell the apartment. That is correct.
We would sell the apartment in any case for all the three options.
Any case, yes. Because we cannot take the risk of not having enough down payment and be on the street.
Yeah.
This is Maya. I want to say that I have reached to some companies, lenders that give commercial loans to nonprofits. And you probably all are aware that our books are not very good for the previous years. The 2020 was the first year when we actually had significant increase in the funds at the end of the year. And this year is also good, but they look at least 2 years back. So they do require a higher down payment. And so if we're going to look at securing the loan, we most probably would have to sell the apartment. Also about the apartment is we really bought it at a good price at a right moment. So we are already at least 10% have income on that apartment from the money that we actually purchased it. Another thing I want to say is that the investment property like that apartment, we have to pay property taxes. So even though we are renting, the rent is significantly decreased with expenses. And if we put that money into the place that we worship and use for our church, then we have reduced taxes. So we will have more benefit probably if, putting it into our own building for the church.
Maya or Alex, there are other expenses too that we would have, for things like, salaries and medical and utilities and property managers, things like that. Have we looked at that, in terms of cash flow and that type of
That's
thing?
a great question, John. So I think it's a great question. So if you look at the screen here, the monthly cost, if we were to purchase a place that was adequate for our own use,
Uh-huh.
the total loaded monthly cost with association fees, property tax and everything would be $5,882. All the other expenses, for all intents and purposes, salaries and, electricity and all that for the same size of building would be the same. So the incremental cost of purchasing something versus what we have today would be 2,500 versus 5,882. So yes, we would have to spend $3,000 more than we spend today. But remember, if we don't have a lot of options, our landlord has been giving us a big break over the many years.
Mhm.
And if we were to vacate our place today and find another place, the rent would be $7,600 a month.
Right. Right.
That's what you see in the first box here.
Uh-huh.
So it's a great question, and we can't really compare it to our current state today because it's not natural. There's no way we could find a $2,500 a month space. We would have to downsize to half the size we're at.
Uh-huh.
Which, John, if we had to, we had to, right? But I mean,
I have a
like
question. Alex, if you go to the next screen, the one with the calculations,
yes.
Okay, so John, I also want to mention that this is just the cash flow. With this slide, I have another addition to this where it actually shows that from the mortgage payment, we actually have probably about a half goes into the principal, so in equity, which means we are not losing it. If we rent, then even if it was the same amount of money, we would lose all of that. This way, pretty much it goes into our equity. Also, the appreciation on the building in the areas where we look is pretty high. So we are actually much better than what the actual cash flow says. The value of our assets is actually increasing even more.
Yes, but John, your question is very valid. I mean, I think what I get from you is, how can we afford $5,882 if we're paying $2,500 today, correct?
Well, yeah, I was just, there's there's a lot of costs that are even hard to anticipate, when we move, those costs or, any renovations, storage, I don't know, a lot of things that.
Yeah, it's a valid point, John, and I think the best answer to that question is that the down payment is 500,000. The building fund actually has more money in it. It probably has another 150, 200,000 more. So we do have some safety funds that we would not be using for the purchase of the building because, let's face it, let's say we can't make a payment, we don't
Right.
have enough donations 1 month or whatever it might be.
Right.
We do have a contingency fund that we're not using for the down payment for a rainy day.
Mhm. Good.
So we
Does that
actually
make sense?
have a savings
Yes.
about $200,000 or even more on the savings that we're absolutely not going to touch for the purchase. That's the safety in the case that we don't have renters or that we can cover any additional expenses. In addition to that, as Alex said, in addition to the 500,000 we are putting as a down payment and then the closing cost, we have additional 60,000 that the remodeling cost here is we also have to cover. So I try to calculate and distribute and really kind of see what will be the extra that we would need to put that we don't have to cover. So I try to include some contingency for the expenses.
Good.
Those that are stewards on the call, and John, you are one. If you have specific questions about the financial reports are available to stewards. We would gladly send those to you if you wanted to take a deeper dive and have a separate call with you and walk you through the finances. But we do have a contingency fund. Now, it's a great point, John, and we do need to recognize that our monthly costs are going to go up, whether we have equity, escrowed away because, part of its principle of everything Maya said is correct. But to make that mortgage payment, we do need to have to continue the influx of cash that we have today. Based on the current financials that we have, this lending institution is open to giving us the loan based on our current income statement. But certainly we would have to, we have to maintain that. And thank God we have had, regardless of doing the right finances and watching the books and all that, that didn't create extra cash. People have just donated additional funds. Those of you who have come to service, even with COVID, will notice that we have way more attendees than we had normally. And people are just donating much more than they have in the past. And I think that has a lot to do with, our brother Roman, who has joined our church, and we're very gracious for that. And, the Russian community that Father Oleg has joined to our church. And so we have additional people who are, donating a lot more, John, than probably what you're used to when you were part of the board.
Excellent.
And we do have the financials, which we're happy to share with you. I personally send those to you if you like.
Maya and Alex.
I'm sorry, I have to disconnect in a little bit, but I have a few questions. One is for the down payment. Can we reach out to the diocese and ask them to help with the down payment? There's been a talk about the church in Arcadia going up for sale. Do we know anything about that? And also I wanted to make a comment about the German Village property in Huntington Beach. I know that there is some feelings in, it's serving Muslim community now, it's a German village, and how do we relate to it as a Serbian community and an Orthodox church? But from someone who is usually doing all the social events for our church, I think that property is an excellent property for social events and can generate revenue through social events.
I will let Father Blaszko comment on Arcadia, but Milica,
yes,
the church.
As you may know, that our bishop is at the assembly meeting of the bishops in Belgrade, Serbia. He knows about our situation, and definitely I'm going to reach out to him and to the diocesan administrative board to see what they can do to help us. And if Arcadia Church is going to be sold, I guarantee you that we will get a portion of it, which will be good. But as far as I know, I don't think it is for sale yet. There's just talks about it and lots of disagreements about the idea, because there are some people who are still attached to that place, even though there are maybe less than 10 families. But maybe this will be a motivation for the diocese and even for that group to help another church that has a living community, it is an active and living church, rather than to keep the building sitting there. So may God bless. And concerning the German village, you are right, Milica, about the social aspects and all this, but believe me, that place is very small for our current attendance. And without, really counting on bigger events and Pascha and, Vasquez and all these events, I mean, there was no way that church can accommodate even the current attendees to our church on a regular basis.
Okay.
That's my biggest concern. In addition to that, Maya and Alex know very well about the future of this village is uncertain, and also it's not a good future investment. And the current owners, or the Muslims, they have been selling this property for the last few years, and they started with 2,600,000, and they have not been able to sell it. And also they reduced the price by $400,000, and still they cannot sell it. So we may face the same problem. And if you ask me, my preference would be also to go with a bigger building that can be leased half, and we can discuss this, of course, later with the board members and so on. We can lease half of the facility, and one day when we pay off the mortgage, this entire facility could serve our purpose. And there are two churches in Orange County, St. Mark Antiochian Church and also St. Barnabas Antiochian Church, that is made out of all Americans converts, basically. And they also bought a big commercial building, and they built a beautiful church. And some of you visited St. Mark Church. We had events there, and they have a beautiful church, beautiful hall, kitchen, offices, and everything they need. So this would be a great great thing for us, because if we achieve to do that, and I'm doing everything possible to come up with more money for the down payments. And I appeal to all of you to talk to the people around you, because if we achieved, let's say, 70, as I said, 73,000 already given within 10 days and 65 pledged, and I still will continue to talk to other people who can do more for us. And one of the person said to me, please talk to my banker, because their bank, and so I'm not going to give you any specifics, said, they may even give you a good grant in addition to a good loan. And I had a feeling that person, and her banker is actually, vice president of a big bank. And that person would like to give probably a portion towards this goal, and be anonymous, and told her banker, okay, you be the broker for Father Blaschko and his church, and I'll give you a certain amount of money. That's my feeling. I'm not saying anything, because I don't have any specifics, but I'm praying that I will get people more to donate. So if we were able to come up with, in addition to the apartment, like, let's say $1 million in a very near future, we would be in a great position to buy a big building. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Father Blaschko, just to be clear, I want people to understand the numbers. We are currently approved, whether we have $1 million down payment or we have $500,000 down payment, we are currently approved for a 1.5 million mortgage. That means that if we had $1 million as a down payment, our maximum purchase price would still be 2.5 million without guarantors. So while it's important to have
that's currently, yes, I understand that's currently, but if this person who's
well, that's what I'm saying. So if we have
something better, so these are all options, of course.
It's all options, but just to be clear and be realistic,
yes.
The current, we can only go with what we know today. What we know today, whether we have 500,000 down payment or 1 million down payment or 2 million down payment, whatever it is, based on our current income and what we're getting from stewards and the donations, we would qualify for a $1.5 million mortgage today. Now, if we have guarantors, which is the last option here, and people on this call wish to guarantee the loan, and there's other options, and we have our landlord that is also willing to help us, we might be able to qualify for more. But it's not. Sorry. Yeah, so so that just to be clear, but yes, certainly, Father Blaschko, if you can secure somebody to finance, or if somebody on this call or somebody who's listening to this recording would be able to help us secure a loan for more money, certainly if you look at the numbers here, we could afford it. We could definitely, it's easier for us to afford a bigger building, even though it's a larger mortgage, simply because of rental income. And I agree with Father Blaschko that if we had a larger building that would appreciate at about, between 3 and 8% per year, in about 10 years from now, that building's going to be worth $6 or $7 million, which would give us the equity to even build a church wherever you want. But again, we need to be in a new place by November 1st. We don't have a lot of time. We might be in a position that we have to go for something that is certain rather than something that's optimal. So that's kind of where the scenarios are. So Maya, do you have anything you want to add to that? I know you did a lot of analysis here.
Alex,
Yeah,
after
I
that,
agree with you, Alex, with everything that you said. It's not just somebody securing the loan, higher loan is we have to, these are our current capabilities for paying off the monthly dues. So, and we have not proven that at this time we can pay more than what we estimated here.
Milo Ivanovic wanted to ask a question.
Mila?
You're muted, Milo. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Alex, you had asked a question, what we all think, and I had two questions to answer that. What type of income do we clear every month? And how many committed members do we have? Just to try to do some simple math.
So, yeah, for my latest report, we have about 75 stewards for the last year, for 2020.
Okay.
Which is people who give money on the way how we identify stewards is people who give money on regular basis, or people who give more than $1,000 per year.
Mm-hmm. And what about the income per month, roughly?
Last year we currently have about, last year we started with about 0, and currently we have about $60,000 on the checking. So
so are you saying we clear, or we take in 60,000 a year, or?
Let me walk you through the math, Mila. I think I understand your question. So roughly,
I'm just trying
year,
to do it, trying to figure out members versus income, just
it's
simple
very
math.
valid question. And if you want more detailed income statement, we can provide that to you since you are a steward. But roughly, we have gathered in revenue or income $170,000 in 2020 for the year. And our costs are about $60,000 less. So we have made a profit for the first time in 2020 of about $60,000. We expect that trajectory to be the same for 2021 and going forward. And the main reason for that is we're not doing festivals, we're not doing cookouts, we're not doing things that cost us money. So we don't have the cost of that. We have more parishioners that are attending and donating much higher amounts than we have seen in the past.
So, and then we're looking just money wise that we have 500,000 on the condo, another 150,000 in the building, 200,000 savings that we're not going to touch, which is 850,000 plus another 60,000.
No, the 60 is part of the building fund.
60 is part of the 150.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a total of 850,000.
Roughly,
that
yes.
includes the condo, right?
Correct.
So what is the board's feeling? Because basically you said we could get approved for 1.5 today, but that 1.5 would be maybe your option A, which is the 128, the 1.28 million, the first one.
Yeah.
But I looked at all of your proposals, and the one that really made sense was that facility, and I think it's right on the border of Santa Ana, the medical facility. Is it 10,000 square feet? with the
Both of
option.
these on the screen here, Mila, if you're still seeing my screen. Both of these facilities are in that classification.
You
So,
you stop sharing, Alex.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me do that. Let me press the button again. Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
So both of
that's-
these facilities, Mila, are 10,000 square feet.
Right, but that also has the greatest option for rental income, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So-
If you look at the options, it's kind of counterintuitive. If we get a bigger
exactly.
building, we have smaller monthly costs.
Right, but I guess, has anybody done the math yet? If we looked at something like that, what would that monthly payment be?
Yeah,
Putting
that's,
aside what the rental would come in at, and what would the closing costs be? Because I know here in California, they really tattoo you on the closing costs.
yeah, we have that. Maya did a simulation. I didn't run the whole spreadsheet here, but are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so this column D, as in David, gives you the simulation here. So the monthly mortgage would be about 11,000.
Yeah.
That
that's
would
what
be
they were
with,
figuring. Okay,
yeah, and there's your closing costs, association fees. So we've done all the math. I mean, you know, and that's how we got to these numbers.
Yeah, Mila, I agree with you. This one does make most sense. It will be the most beneficial for us. And it was also personally my first choice. However, because of our accounting for previous years,
right,
banks don't seem to be willing to give us that much $2 million loan, because
well,
this
and
one
you know, you
requires
just think
$2.4
we
million.
have a little bit of a transient church community, more so than other areas, just because of this area is so expensive to live. We have a lot of people that come in, they're here 2 or 3 years and they can't afford to move here, move back to Serbia, you know, move to a less expensive area. So that was my question, which goes back to the stewards. I've been a member since the inception of the church. Is it 20 years, Father? 21 years now? And we've seen a lot of people come and go. So that was my reason. And I don't know, my husband and I have done the math countless times, and we always thought that if we had secure 100 members that were constantly giving every week or every month, then we would be in a, you know, great position if that could be our goal. But I don't want to take up any more time. That
No,
one
your
makes
questions
no
are,
sense, but the
your
mortgage
questions are,
payment is scary.
yeah, it is very scary, Mila. And if you, that's
Yeah.
why we did these options, you know, so I'm glad you asked the question, and you can see sort of the architecture behind the presentation, you know, so we've done our homework
Right.
and we agree. And, you know, it's scary for us too. And I share all of your sentiments.
Mhm.
The fact is though, we got to make a decision by November 1st. We're either going to continue renting, which again is not affordable. It's $7,600 a month, or we bite the bullet. Use
Well, what's the
funds
board?
we-
What's the board's feeling?
I would like to say something. First of all, if we continue with the stewardship and donations that we had last year, we would be able to handle this. But I hope and pray that when we buy something, that people would be even more willing to give. And I know by donations for the building fund now, a family who always gives when we have this kind of fundraisers for the building fund. And some people are waiting for something to happen concrete to get involved on a regular basis. Unfortunately, that's I don't think it's a good, you know, way to do it. We should be part of it all the time. And in order to achieve our goal, permanent goal, people have to understand one-time donation is great and appreciated, but we have to be stewards on a regular basis. And besides the math, of course, very important, we have to have faith. And I don't think, with all due respect, I don't think any board or any community would dare to do what the first board in the community did with $18,000 to accept the responsibility to pay a full-time priest and to pay the leases and everything. And that was unbelievable, mathematically illogical, impossible. So at that time, we were not sure whether we would last 2-3 months or, will continue to last God knows how long, and we still exist. So I honestly, because I'm working very hard, as I said, with other resources and people to come up with more money and maybe somebody to give us a loan and so on. Let's, believe and pray that, that God will not leave us alone. He has not left us alone so far, and we have to combine our faith, number one, with every other aspect of calculating the future and so on. And I believe that people will be motivated, more motivated to give and become parts of the church once we have our own facility.
Yeah, but Mila, I guess to answer your question, I mean, the board can, the rest of the board members can speak for themselves. The bigger the property is, the lower cash flow we need per month. So if we could find a mortgage option, I think the best option would be to get the biggest building that we can. Currently, we're limited. If on the other spectrum, if we needed to look for a more secure home, certainly, as Milica brought up, this church that's kind of on the small side that Father Blaschko said, it is 9,000 square feet, the 2 buildings. So, I mean, if it was the worst case scenario, that property will probably be available for however, I don't want to jinx ourselves, but, maybe we want to try to see how you put some offers here, try to get some funding, see what the bigger opportunities are and try to secure those. And, fallback plan might be, like Milica said, might be the smaller church. We need to measure things, see if we can maybe break a wall or do something to make it bigger. I don't know. I mean, the current worship hall today, I just measured it this weekend with my son, is only 1,000 square feet. It's 34 by 32 feet. So our current worship hall is not that huge anyways, so if you look at, this, the Huntington Beach property, clearly there's some opportunity there. You would need to redo the front, so you wouldn't have these stairs. You need to maybe put in more than 60,000, but certainly would be easy to carry. And you got this building you can rent, for example. So, there's options here, but we don't have a concrete answer, Mila. I think what we're looking for here is just what is people's feelings? Do we have an appetite for risk to try to get a $3+ million property? Do we have a smaller appetite for risk and get a really small building that's, in the 1.3 million area? At the end of the day, if things go wrong and you purchase any one of these properties except for the Huntington Beach property, you could sell it tomorrow, probably for more money than you bought it for. So the church could recover its money, put the iconostasis in storage, figure things out, right? And see what it does. But, all of these properties except for this one would be pretty liquid and easy to sell. This property here, although it's interesting that Milica brought up, there's some risk. We spoke to our landlord. He's helping us with some advisory and things like that. This property is really hard to sell. So if something does go wrong, there's really not much of a fallback plan. So, clearly the Muslim community is selling it. It didn't work out for them. And, they've lost about 20% on the building already. And out of all of these buildings, the only building our landlord has offered to give us some bridge finance and things like that to help us out. He has a vested interest, of course. He doesn't want guilt in his conscience and put us on the street. But, he is obviously not enthusiastic about that property, the one I've highlighted here. So, and I understand why. It makes sense. But certainly this one is the easiest to carry. We could rent it, 9,000 square feet. You could probably rent it, even if you rented it for $1,000, $2,000 a month, this whole building here on the left side, 5,000 square feet, you would cover all your costs.
Father Blaschko? Quick question.
Yes.
Has a while back at St. Mark's, I can't remember who mentioned it, but somebody said that St. Mark's across the highway was thinking of moving, to another bigger area. and their place might be available.
Да, можно.
I wish it was available, and we were interested at that time to buy it, but they actually changed their mind. They decided to stay in the current facility, and I can ask Father Michael to see if they still intend to move, but as far as I know, I don't think so. I think they are staying there now because they wanted also to build a big church and buy property and so on and so on. And so I don't know why they changed their mind or they just postponed, but I can investigate on that.
So what's the feeling of some of the attendees on the call? I mean, what's kind of your thought process here between the options we have? Is there another option that people can think of?
At the end of the day, I will not talk too long, but at the end of the day, we have to do what we can do, and we cannot deny a reality, okay? So, and as I said, I will do everything possible to talk to possible lenders and, possible, more donations and so on. And I ask everyone who is listening to this to do their part. That's all.
Thank you, Father. Any other opinions, suggestions, observations?
I think you guys did a really nice job in, doing your research and presenting this. And I'm really happy to hear how well we're doing financially as well. I think that's terrific. And, it looks possible. And I'm wondering, have we, I don't want to think of anything but being successful with this, but would there be a plan B after November for us if we, we're in process and, still working on it, that we would meet somewhere? Has there been any thought about that?
Well, the plan B, John, and that's a great question. The plan B, as it stands today, is just to have a storage facility and store everything we have, including the iconostasis, and until we can secure property. Certainly that is a terrible option, but we would have to suspend services for the amount of time. That's why we really want to get going on this and get the blessing from you all and from the bishop and start trying to secure a home. But that is the plan B. And unless somebody gives us a space with similar conditions as the landlord has given us. I mean, it's not so simple, right? You gotta do some leaseholds, you gotta mount things up, you've got moving costs, you've got, so there's not a lot of options.
The problem with the lease is not only the money, but also the time of the lease. And as you know, that the current landowner, he offered us the other facility, and he said the lease time for the lease would be 3 years. So honestly, I mean, with God's help, I strongly believe that we will not cease our services, and we will continue, and we will succeed with the purchase of a property. So that's my strong feeling, and with God's help, we will achieve that. So, and some people, because I put in an email, as you know, that this could be the end of our church, and of course, I didn't mean that literally, God forbid, but some people responded, Father, even if we have to go on a tent, under the tent, we will go, and not to cease, not to break our services. And I like many attitudes and comments that the people sent me. So that's
but, Father, it's a valid question. I mean, John, that's a very realistic question.
Of course.
So the option is, yes, we would get a tent somewhere, but all our goods, all our iconostasis, all our property, all our assets would need to be stored somewhere.
On that note, I contacted actually the person who is a professional tennis player that I met recently, and she immediately contacted some of her friends who have buildings and spaces and so on. And I was amazed. She was on a tournament in Italy, and she texted me and she said, Father, this is important for you and your church, and I would love to help in any way I can. And she said, I have some friends who might have a building or facility and so on and so on. And So, I mean, I see this as God's way of helping us through good souls and good people. So something will happen, something will come up, but we have to continue and proceed with our plans as we presented to you tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all really good. But John, from the non-spiritual perspective, you know, being a realist, as you know me, plan B is to store our stuff somewhere and try to have ad hoc services wherever we can find space.
Hey.
And I just want that's really important question. And I just want it to be clear for everybody. The plan B is really not a good plan. But, you know, at the end of the day, we have to go somewhere.
Hi, I have a question. This is Veta Jovanovic.
Oh, hi.
Hi, guys. I was just wondering, is there an option for lease to buy? Possibly trying one location out before maybe we commit? Is that an option before we
We've
dive
not
into
seen-
something?
We've not seen any of those options. I think the market's way too hot to have those. People give that because they're desperate to sell, and buildings get sold in, you know, a couple of days these days.
Okay.
Anything you want to
That's a
add,
good idea. That's
Maya?
a good idea, Vera, to keep in mind. So thank you for the suggestion. And I heard that suggestion from somebody else via email and telephone conversations, but it's a good
Maya
idea.
knows the real estate market in our area. What do you think, Maya?
Well, I have been following and trying. This is not the first time I've been looking for the different properties for church. I looked early this year and once last year as well when we purchased the apartment.
That's unusual.
I have not seen rent to purchase. And right now, as you probably know, it's very, as Alex said, it's the market is very hot. It pretty much buildings, this is like, we looked at some buildings in Laguna Hills. At the time we went to see the first one, it was already in escrow. So then we went to see the second one and we were talking about it. It was already in escrow. Then we went to see the third one. So we need to, as Alex will probably say for the next steps, we need to get some approval to move quickly. Because if we don't move quickly, we're going to lose every single property. We won't even be able to buy. So when we see a property available, we have to jump on it, be aggressive and try to get it. Trust me, when we went to look at the one in Laguna Hills, there were people right before us who were already giving an offer for the part of it and stuff like that. So it's not even easy to buy. We have no time to think about it for 2 months or 3 months.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know, sorry, I jumped on kind of late, but I know I heard that the Huntington Beach location, the Old World, has been on the market for a while. So why is that? I'm sorry, I was a little late.
It's, you know, so Novetta, it's a really good question. Personally, I like this property.
I do too. I think it's a great location.
Yeah, and it's cute, right? I mean, look, it's got the church. It's got that whole. This looks like a salash, a Serbian salash. This thing right here. So
yes, we've gone there many. Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, you know, from if you just look at it in a cold, calculated way, this property is almost impossible to sell. So if you're gonna, you know, take a run at this thing, we could probably buy it. We could probably buy it tomorrow. We could probably get it, you know, a 10% lower price than what's there. We can get it financed, no problem. We probably need at least 150,000 in leasehold improvements to take care of this front area with the stairs, you know, to make it accessible. You know, I think it's big enough to a point, but if the parish grows a lot, we would not be able to accommodate a lot of people. And then if at some point, if you need to sell it and move on, you're going to have a hard time selling it. And our current landlord has consulted with us. Maya and I had a couple of calls with him. He's really dead set against this property just because you're kind of, you know, you're stuck here. Now in 20 years, if you want to sell this thing, you'll probably make money on it. But, you know, it's, it's a difficult property to sell after the fact.
Can I ask what the timeline is? Is this a stepping stone property that you're anticipating buying, or is it a long term? I guess, how long do you anticipate keeping the property?
It's a great question. It really depends on how the stewardships evolve and you know, our flock, if people join a lot and instead of having 70 stewards, we have 150, 200 stewards, then we can afford, you know, to look at larger things. But I don't know how long it's going to take us to get that level. I mean, you know, like anything that we've got, I don't want to call it that way, but it is competition.
Sure.
You know, there's other Orthodox churches in the area. There's, you know, different communities that, you know, they want to have their own church. There's always that risk, you know, and I don't know, like currently we've got lots of other different ethnicities in our church, and it's great and wonderful, but you know, at some point, some people might want to have their own thing. And, you know, so I don't know what our stewardship base is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years to say we can move on. We, you know, this Huntington Beach thing, if we said this was our permanent place of worship, you know, that might make a lot of sense. I don't know, but you know, if it's a stepping stone and we want to sell it, it's not really going to work for us in that way.
Yeah.
But you know, to Maya's point, you know, it is a 9,000 square foot property. Half of your mortgage payment is going to be the principal, so you are building up equity. Whether it appreciates or not, it's like a savings account. So it is a safe investment from that standpoint. We can afford it. And even if we rented this whole building, you know, for a bargain price of, you know, $1.30, you can rent it tomorrow, probably, even regardless of parking, you can rent this building for $1.30, $1.40 per square foot, right, Maya? Which is around 20% lower than anywhere else nearby. You'd fill that up pretty quickly. So you could probably, you know, rent that 5,000 square foot. Let me do a quick calculation.
Yeah.
5,000 square feet at, let's say it was $1.39. You could probably rent it for about, you know, $6,000.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that location is great, Alex. I mean, there are three things
I
in
agree.
real estate: location, location, location. And
Sure.
that, I think, hits it right on the nose. I think socially, I think that's going to be a great place. It's going to flourish. I think we can, I mean, there's some, my daughter rented a violin from the Bella Violin Shop there, who's a wonderful Russian lady who gave us an earful of information about that church. And we noticed that it is a mosque now, but it sounds like her and some of the other tenants in that area, or owners really, would love to have a church like ours planted there.
Yeah, no, it's very encouraging what you're saying, Bet. I mean, I like the property, you know, we all like the property. Nobody
Yeah, I mean,
dislikes the property.
Yeah, the other two locations sound like a smart investment, of course, but I don't think we should knock this one either. So
Sure. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Well, I think it's a great property. I went there, walked around, it's just a cute area. You know, it's almost like a little village. It's almost like, you know, a Slavic
it's like
village
you're
kind
in
of.
Serbia almost, right?
Yeah, well, it's a very cute place. I mean, absolutely. You know, I don't know, John, if you've been there, I think you were, right? You went to go look at it at some point.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. So it did, you know, it's a compelling property. No doubt about it. And it's affordable. I mean, it's 9,000 square feet.
Vera didn't hear me at the beginning. I'm sorry to interrupt, but honestly, I mean, I love the property. I served in that church. We served actually downstairs in their hall a few summers, and Milita knows. I don't know if Milita is still on there.
I remember that, Father. That's when I first met you.
Yes, and we were actually downstairs in the hall, which is much bigger than the church. And the only issue and the main issue is the size of the church, because our current facility and the church is not much bigger. It's actually more narrow than our church. I went inside and measured. Our iconostasis would not fit in the church. Okay, there is a way to, you know, kind of
Yeah, you have to
make
cut,
it
Father.
possible. make it
Yeah.
possible. But in this current facility, people who stand in the hallway, they are still part of the church. They open those doors, as you know, and then our candles are outside the worship facility. And in this church, we would need to put the candles inside. We would have less space in the current.
Maybe you would need to put downstairs, Father, right? So you have to do
Yeah,
something.
but that's a hall downstairs. And believe me, this facility, if it is so, I mean, location, we all know that. But they have not been able to sell it for the last 3 years, even though reduced almost $500,000 the price. And if that's our last option, let it be so. But let's try to do something more permanent for us and secure our future. That's my.
Father Blaszko, what if we, just as an idea, as a backup plan, you know, does it make sense to have some of the people you know that can give us some opinions about how to enlarge or something like this?
Hey, Alex. Yeah, we've also done, in my family, we've done a lot of building. So what I would suggest, we probably, the board and you, we can call the association and we can call the city. And the thing would be to see if they would allow expansion. There is a terrace on the right side of that church, which will give a much more space. But we just have to see whether they would permit that. So I don't think that's a problem to talk to them and ask. And at least we'll know whether that would be even an option.
Yeah, that's a good point, Maya. Then we know the facts.
Because we can, I think expanding it would be a great opportunity. We can make it the way how we wanted the space and shape the space. I think we could possibly gradually afford it and through the projects, not the first day, but that's something that if you're investing, but we just have to see whether the city and the association, because this property has association because it's part of the village, and we just have to see whether they would allow it or not. So we can make a few calls to see that.
Or Maya, the other thing I was thinking when Father Blaszko was saying, why couldn't you take part of the main building and use that as your hall and only have worship area in the church?
Well, I don't know.
You still have to ask the association. You still have to, because of the fire code and everything else. You still have to ask the association for change of the purpose anyways. Because of the number of.
Like social club, you know, social club, that kind of thing.
Alex, let me just say that the building next to the church, I was inside and they have 3 levels there. So those 5,000 square feet is divided in 3 levels. They even have, I think, a couple of apartments inside, and they used it also as their classrooms for the children and things like that.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yes, and so it's not 5,000 square feet, one level. You had 3 levels and divided, and and
no, I understand, Father, but
downstairs. If we end up buying this, which is not my first choice because of the reasons I already stated, we would invest at least couple of $100,000 to fix everything. The downstairs hall and the kitchen is in a terrible shape, and the building inside is in a terrible shape.
Yeah.
Father,
yeah, but I mean, if you're able to rent, for example, you know, here is Maya's spreadsheet. Are you seeing my screen? No?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So Maya did this really great spreadsheet. So Maya, I'm going to try to simulate Huntington Beach. Let's say it was 2002. We get it for 2.1 millions, right? And
I would suggest, Alex, that you just use column C here, because
column C,
there are some values for the mortgage, monthly payment and other that
I see.
you have to calculate. But
so it goes like this, and then rental income. How much rental space do you think this property would have, Maya? Maybe not 5,000 as Father says, but maybe 3,000. What do you think?
Well, let's put 3,000. You have to change some other numbers. That's what I'm saying. It's not gonna automatically change, for example, the mortgage payment and everything else. So,
Yeah.
it's not a
Let's say we
fully
do it for $1.39. Mortgage payment is similar, right? So,
Maya,
mean,
did
it
you
would
ever
be-
ask how much would be association fee in that village for both buildings?
I think I asked the first time when we started looking into that. That was when John was actually leading the effort. I cannot remember right now. I can go and look it up.
But is it more
online.
than 1,300? That seems very high. Could be less, no?
Probably it is, and because of the both buildings, I don't know how much, because they charge those fees according to the square footage. And the first time when we looked at the church, it was the church only for sale, not the other building, and it was about 1,300 something just for the church. And now, in addition to that, it would be, it's worth
So
of
let's say
asking.
let's say it's 2,000, just for a quick calculation. So, I mean, at the end, you see, you know, Vera makes a good point. You know, the monthly cost would be, sorry, the monthly cost would be very, very reasonable after rent, 5,200. So,
Father, do you think, I know the bishop was interested in that building. You know,
Yeah,
next,
like the place, like all of us. I mean, the place itself is very cute, and but the future of the entire village is questionable. Somebody pointed out to me the other day. They said, you know, we don't know because the city of Hampton Beach can just entirely change that area. So, I mean, there are lots of things to think about. And if that happens, they will just pay us off and, you know, kick us out. So, and there are really, we need lots of information on that, but we can do.
but we can investigate, Father, if the
Yes, we can do
investigate.
investigate.
We can check.
Of course,
Yeah,
but
we
in
can
the
check.
meantime, we should look at other options as well. Work concurrently, not just focus now on this and waste our time on this, getting the information and so on and so on. And then at the end, we didn't find another solution. But
No, I think we need to go.
It's not a very easy probably to lease out that building. That's my guess. I'm ignorant about those things, but many office buildings are empty today, and because there are no tenants, and that's why many commercial buildings are on sale, and they are coming up on sale all the time. And
Not so much, Father. Not too many buildings coming for sale, right,
yes,
Maya?
yes. I talked to some people who said, Father, believe it or not, every day some new buildings come up on the market.
Okay, so
They
just
come up because the prices go up.
yeah.
True.
They want
Price is going up a
And
lot. It's
it's
$330.
definitely a seller's market, which means whatever they put out, it goes out very fast. It's not buyer's market. We can't sit and wait. And like if we see something, we have to act, otherwise it's gonna go.
But just to kind of recap the things, I think Maya, you know, you're absolutely right. And my concern, I share Father's concern. I think we need to look at several options. So, I mean, the board's position is, I think we want to get something that's a safe place, that's a responsible place. I think we like this one, right, Maya? Overall, the board, this is a Laguna Beach property, which is around 6,000 square feet.
Laguna
This one
Hills.
is Laguna Hills, sorry, Laguna Hills, I keep mixing up. So we like this one, for example, you know, we like this sort of 2 million type property because we know we can afford it today. We can get the mortgage, you know, so I think, you know, in general, if we can find a good property that is within a 5-mile perimeter of where we are today, you know, we'll send the survey out to see how far people are willing to drive. You know, for some people, they don't want to drive the extra 5 miles or 6 miles or whatever it is. But I mean, if the parishioners feel that this is the middle section is a good section to go for, we can certainly look at, you know, the Huntington Beach property. If somebody wants to volunteer and investigate some of the zoning and see how much, you know, how easy it would be to change and what the risks are for Huntington Beach to the city to change it, if somebody wants to help with that. But the board's going to continue looking for generic properties that are easy to sell, that's a good investment, around this area. And I think that's what we are inclined here as a board to look at something like this. And then, of course, if we can secure a mortgage and financing, the best option would be to get something 10,000 square feet, either in South Santa Ana, south of the 55, west of the 55, Erdinger, this kind of area, a good area, and get something like that that can easily be rented, and we can carry it and all that. So, I mean, board members, please speak up, but I think based on our discussions, this is where we were kind of leaning against.
I do want to mention one more thing about the zoning. The buildings that you see, which are office buildings, they're typically zoned for offices and not for large gatherings. There is a way, we also investigated and research, there is a way to kind of get around that and get the special permission, but it is something that we would have to work on. It's not given. The property that's for the, already designated for the church, we wouldn't have to worry about the zoning.
Yeah, we have to call it, Maya, remember it has to be a social club or what is it? Cultural center, right? Cultural center, is that what they told us?
Did you get the instructions from St. Mark that I obtained, how they did the procedure? Because they were in the same situation like us, and they bought a commercial building, and I think everything is specified there, what kind of steps we need to take in order to get a permit.
But it's always a risk that they say no, right? That's, I think, what Maya is trying to say.
Well, of course, everything is a risk.
Well, I'm just saying that there is additional work that has to be done, and probably cost and risk and so on. I'm just mentioning that as one of the factors.
Does anyone else has any questions of the people who are on the Zoom?
No, I just want to thank, pardon me, John. Yeah. Just want to thank Father for inviting me to sit in on the Zoom, and I plan on becoming a steward as soon as possible so I can contribute.
Thank you, Mihailo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
And by the way, I want to say that Mihailo lives in Palm Desert, so in Indian Wells, actually. Is it Palmers or Indian Wells? So, and he's been driving a few times so far, all the way from there to attend our services. Thank you, Mihailo. You and your sister Barbara mean a lot.
Thank you.
To me as a priest and to the church. Thanks.
Follow up.
Okay, so we will send out the recording to all the distribution list of Father Blaško. We will send a small survey so we get a little bit of, your opinions, and you can watch this, you can think about it before you answer the survey. But our plan is to chase after properties, in this 2.2 to 3 million area, depending on the financing that we can secure. But most likely we would land somewhere on something like this. This is our preferred scenario. As a backup plan, we'll look at the zoning and things of that nature. Maybe John, we can have a discussion with you so you can brief us on what you found out when you were investigating this. And between these two kind of things, we would make a decision and start putting offers to buy. Anybody against that?
Alex, thank you, Maya. Thank you, everyone, for everything.
Is anybody against that conclusion?
We will study the survey most certainly when we get, send out, and keep everyone posted about the board's decisions and everything else. Everyone will be notified. Just follow the emails, read them and respond, please. And I would like to appeal to everyone to fill out the stewardship forms. There are many people who give stewardship without filling out the form. And the reason we need those forms to be filled out to show it to the lender, what would be our projected income, monthly income and so on.
Very good. Thank you, Father. So we will close the call. Nikolai, I turn it over to you. You're the moderator. Anything else you want to add?
I just wanted to add that Philip just joined, and we will have the recording sent of the entire meeting by Father Blaschko, so you'll be able to catch up with what we've discussed.
Yes, and if anybody has questions, please let us know. And we're happy to talk about if somebody wants to look at the financials or anything like that. If you're a steward, you have every right to look at that, and just let Maya or myself know. We would be happy to share with you.
Thank you all. God bless you all. And Christos Voskresem.
Aistinu Voskresem.
Christ is risen.
Truly is
Truly is
risen.
risen.
Indeed, he is risen.
God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Father.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Lord.
board.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good night.